It was close to midnight in a small diner just outside Chicago, the kind of place where truck drivers, students, and night workers stopped for a warm meal and hot coffee. Lily Parker, 24, had been on her feet for hours, balancing trays, filling mugs and offering tired smiles. The jukebox in the corner played softly, blending with the clinking of dishes and quiet conversations. She loved her job, even if it was exhausting, because it kept her independent. She never imagined that this night, like any other, would test her courage in a way she could never prepare for. The bell above the door jingled, but instead of another weary traveler, two men stormed in wearing masks and holding guns. The atmosphere instantly changed, the hum of chatter cut off like a switch. Customers gasped, some froze, and a mother instinctively clutched her child to her chest. The robbers shouted for everyone to stay still, their voices sharp and threatening. Plates slipped from someone's hands, shattering on the floor. Fear spread like wildfire through the diner, but amidst the chaos, Lily's heart slowed instead of raced. Something inside her urged her to remain calm. Her eyes scanned the room quickly. An elderly couple near the window trembled. A group of teenagers stared wide-eyed, paralyzed by fear, and then she saw two small children with their father, both clutching each other under the table. Lily took a deep breath and forced her body not to shake. Slowly, quietly, she bent down to the kids and whispered, "Stay low, don't make a sound. Everything will be okay." Her calm tone soothed them, her gentle voice a lifeline in the middle of the storm. She knew panic would only make things worse. In the corner booth, a man who had been quietly sipping his coffee observed her carefully. His name was Ethan Grant, a billionaire whose face was unknown to most, though his influence spread through Chicago and beyond. Tonight, dressed in a plain jacket and jeans, he looked no different from an ordinary customer. But inside, he was astonished. He had seen leaders of companies break under far less pressure than this. Yet here was a young waitress, steady as stone, managing fear not only for herself, but for everyone else in the diner. One of the robbers banged his gun against the counter, demanding the register. Lily straightened her back, forcing her steps to remain unhurried as she moved behind the counter. Her hands wanted to tremble, but she willed them to stillness. She unlocked the register, pulled out the bills, and set them calmly on the counter. "Here," she said evenly, her voice firm but not challenging. The robber snatched the money, glancing at her with a hint of confusion. He expected crying or screaming, not this quiet bravery. That brief pause, though small, gave everyone in the diner a chance to breathe. The second robber's eyes darted around the room, clearly anxious, clearly unstable. Lily knew one wrong move could push him over the edge. Slowly, she took a step. Closer, holding out the tip jar without a word. Her movements were steady, her posture non-threatening. In that moment, she wasn't just a waitress. She was the shield between danger and the terrified souls around her. Ethan couldn't believe what he was seeing. Something about the way she carried herself, unarmed yet unshaken, stirred something deep inside him that boardrooms and billion-dollar deals never had. Minutes stretched like hours until the robbers finally backed away, their bags stuffed with cash. "Stay down!" one of them shouted before bolting out the door. The sound of the bell jingling as they left felt surreal. For a moment, silence filled the diner, everyone frozen in disbelief that it was over. Then, slowly, breaths returned. Whispers rose and tears spilled. A child cried softly against his father's chest. The elderly couple clasped hands, shaking. And in the center of it all, Lily stood rooted, breathing deeply, her face pale but composed, as if she had carried everyone's fear on her shoulders. Ethan rose from his booth, his heart pounding, not from fear, but from admiration. He had seen courage in boardrooms, ambition in powerful men, but never this, never such quiet strength in a simple diner under neon lights. As he looked at Lily, brushing her hair back with trembling fingers, yet still helping others first. He knew this night was not just another story of crime. It was the story of a young woman whose bravery would soon echo beyond these four walls. And he, Ethan Grant, couldn't shake the feeling that he had witnessed something extraordinary. The police arrived minutes later, lights flashing red and blue against the diner's glass walls. Officers rushed in, asking questions, assuring everyone the area was secure. Customers gave shaky statements, still processing what had happened. Lily sat on a stool behind the counter, her hands folded tightly, forcing herself to breathe. She refused medical help, insisting others be seen first. Ethan remained quiet in his booth, watching her. Something in him knew this wasn't the kind of bravery that could be overlooked. He pulled out his phone, dialing a number few people ever received at this hour. By morning, the diner was buzzing with reporters. Word had spread that a young waitress had faced down armed robbers without breaking. Cameras flashed, microphones hovered, and customers from last night confirmed her calmness. Lily, however, seemed overwhelmed. She tried to slip out the back door, embarrassed by the attention, but Ethan intercepted her. In a quiet tone, he introduced himself, not as a billionaire, but simply as Ethan. "The world needs to see courage like yours," he said, "not just for headlines, but for hope." Lily blinked, unsure why a stranger cared so much. Later, that day, Ethan arranged a private meeting at the diner. He requested the manager let Lily take a break, promising it wouldn't interfere with business. When she sat across from him, her apron still tied around her waist, he leaned forward. "You didn't just survive last night," he told her. "You protected others. That kind of leadership is rare." Lily laughed softly, shaking her head. "I didn't lead anyone. I just didn't want the kids to be scared." Ethan's eyes studied her. "That's exactly why it matters. You put people before yourself." Ethan decided the world needed to hear her story, but not in a way that sensationalized it. He connected her with a journalist he trusted, someone who valued truth over spectacle. The article went live that evening. "Waitress stands tall in face of robbery, a beacon of courage in Chicago." Overnight, it spread across social media. Thousands commented, sharing their admiration. Hashtags began trending, praising Lily's bravery. She didn't have an Instagram account, no polished photos, no influencer presence, yet her authenticity resonated more than anything staged. Ethan watched as her name became a symbol of quiet strength. The next morning, Lily woke to hundreds of messages on her phone. Strangers thanked her. Mothers said she inspired them. Veterans admired her composure. Her co-workers hugged her, teasing that she was now famous. But Lily only blushed, muttering that she was still just a waitress who spilled coffee and forgot. Order sometimes. Ethan, however, knew better. He visited the diner again, this time openly acknowledging his background. When Lily realized he was Ethan Grant, the billionaire philanthropist, she nearly dropped a tray. "Why didn't you say?" she stammered. He smiled. "I wanted to see you see me, not my money." In the days that followed, Ethan invited her to a community event where he was funding youth programs in the city. At first, Lily refused. Public speaking wasn't her strength, but Ethan insisted she simply share her story, just as she had lived it. Nervously, she agreed. When the night arrived, she stood on stage, her voice trembling at first, but then steady. She spoke about fear, about protecting the children, about staying calm when everything inside her screamed not to. The audience erupted in applause. Cameras captured the moment, and once again her story spread across the nation. Within a week, national news outlets reached out, talk shows invited her, and local schools asked her to speak to students. Ethan stayed quietly in the background, making sure she never felt used or pressured. He arranged security for her, managed the overwhelming press, and reminded her constantly, "You don't owe the world anything. Share only what feels right." Lily couldn't understand why a billionaire cared so deeply, but she couldn't deny the comfort his presence gave her. For the first time, she felt she wasn't carrying the weight alone. His steady support reminded her of her own calm that night. One evening, after a long day of interviews, Ethan walked her back to her small apartment. Standing at her door, he said softly, "You think you are ordinary, Lily, but I've built empires, and I've seen the strongest men falter under less. What you did was extraordinary." She looked at him, humbled, unsure what to say. "I didn't do it to be brave," she whispered. "I did it because people needed me to." Ethan smiled, eyes glinting. "That's what makes you braver than most." Neither of them realized then that the moment was the beginning of something far greater.